Burma has taken extraordinary steps over the past 12 months from military dictatorship towards the makings of a democracy. It's a change which has justified, at least in part, ASEAN's long-term approach of engagement rather than isolation. But so far, Burma's leaders have failed to agree to requests to allow in international observers to make sure by-elections to be held next month are free and fair. Surin Pitsuwan is ASEAN's Secretary-General. Secretary-General, thank you very much for joining us.
Certainly. A pleasure.
ASEAN has invested much effort in trying to encourage Burma to become a better place politically. How disappointed would you be if Burma's rulers did refuse to allow in international observers to watch their country's forthcoming elections?
When I talked to the President Thein Sein, we discussed about the importance of international confidence, the importance of transparency, and certainly the connection between the international confidence and the lifting of the sanctions. And I made the offer that Myanmar could do no less than what it did back in November 2010, and that was to invite the Yangon-based ASEAN diplomats to observe the elections. And I said even better if Myanmar would invite relevant personnel from the capitals of ASEAN, and given the fact that Myanmar is going to be the chair of ASEAN in the year 2014, the ASEAN public deserves to know what's going on inside Myanmar. So I said the ASEAN media certainly would be a very, very good element to be added to the observer teams. Now, I'm still waiting for the final decision of the government of Myanmar.
It's 2 weeks since you had those conversations with the President. Why do you think it's taking the authorities in Burma so long to come to a decision?
Well, I can't understand the time that they are taking. I'm sure they have reasons, but the offer is certainly on the table, and have not offered anything drastically different from what we have done in the past. As I said, in November 2010, the ASEAN foreign ministers asked if ASEAN could be part of the observers teams, and Myanmar did. So it will take some time, and I hope it won't take too long.
Countries like the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia have made concessions in the wake of the changed behaviour on the part of the Burmese leadership. Do you think it's really enough for the Burmese authorities merely to consider having observers from delegations within Burma rather than observers from abroad?
Well, I think it is a confirmation for Myanmar that the international community certainly has the goodwill and the willingness to support the process, and that they have welcomed the reform so far. Whether or not this is enough to encourage them to move faster and open up wider, I think it's the internal dynamics that's going to decide. But I think they certainly welcome the expression of support and encouragement that they have heard, and the relief of some limitations that have been imposed upon Myanmar by those countries that you have mentioned. So I think they welcome, and they just want to make sure that they can take advantage of all these things, and what more they can do and they will do.
There were concerns about some practices in the 2010 election, even with the ASEAN observers present. Do you think there might be similar concerns about what might happen this time round without a fully fledged observer presence?
Yes, Jim. My assessment is that they understand the importance of this very, very crucial by-elections of 48 vacant seats, because the elections are going to come in the middle of this euphoria about what's going on, about the reforms, about the opening in Myanmar. So I think they very much attach the importance because the world is attaching very much importance to this series of by-elections. And the fact that Lady Aung San Suu Kyi is herself a candidate, her party is fielding candidates in all the 48 seats vacant.
Would ASEAN reconsider its decision to award the chairmanship of ASEAN to Burma in 2014 if it had judged that these elections were not free and fair?
A phrase that was used during the summit prior to the fateful decision to accept Myanmar's offer to chair ASEAN in the year 2014, and that phrase was, "We hope that the reforms will not be reversed. We hope that there will not be a rollback of the openings of the reforms that have taken place in the past year." So I think Myanmar realizes that there is a high expectation that the only direction that things are going to go inside Myanmar would be more opening, more space for all stakeholders to participate in the process of national governance. Now, we don't know. They know that ASEAN expects no reversal, but we don't know what's going to happen between now and 2014. And that will be certainly up to the ministers, up to the leaders to decide.
Another subject, ASEAN's had a significant role in trying to resolve the border dispute between Thailand and Cambodia. How would you rate the chances of the establishment of an observer mission, as has been mooted, possibly consisting of Indonesian troops, to ease tension, to settle things down?
At this very moment, Mr. Marty Natalegawa, Foreign Minister of Indonesia, is on a mission trying to revive that discussion. It has been rather dormant since the change of the government in Thailand and since the judgment of the International Court of Justice. But I think now Mr. Natalegawa is trying to continue his mission, and dialogue and discussions are going on. I don't have any privilege to the ingredients and the details of the discussion, but effort is still on, and I think it's something that ASEAN takes very seriously.
Is it ASEAN's assessment that it's essential to establish a demilitarised zone in the disputed area if progress is to be made, if a return to violence is to be avoided?
I think the bilateral mechanisms between Thailand and Cambodia have been talking about that very issue. Actually, it's part of the judgment of the International Court of Justice that there should be temporary measures, and one of them is to make sure that the area is not militarized. So it's part of the discussion that is going on, and I think they are trying to find the best way forward.
Secretary General, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.